Hello viewers, today's question was gotten from one of my students and this is an assignment. And in this assignment, we want to learn how to figure out the center and the radius of a circle. And if you watch, this equation of a circle is a general form, so we want to learn how to figure out the center and the radius of this equation of a circle. The first thing I want you to remember is that a circle can be written in a standard form as x minus h all squared plus y minus k all squared equal to r squared. So when a circle is written in this form, you can easily obtain the center and the radius. The center is the h and the k, that's the center, and of course the radius is just the r. So in other words, we want to look for a way to write this equation of a circle in this format. If we can successfully write this equation in this format, we can easily obtain the center and the radius. So how do we rewrite this equation in this format? Is by completing the square. So I'm going to walk you through the process of completing the square so that we can write this equation in this format. So let us go over to this side and complete the square of this equation. The first thing you want to do is to bring the x to the x and the y to the y. So you have x squared minus 10x, that's this guy, plus y squared plus 6y equal to minus 30. So let us take off these guys from here. Okay. Now let's continue. Now at this point, you want to complete the square for x and you want to complete the square for y. And if peradventure there is a coefficient of x here that is not 1, we will divide both sides by that coefficient of y squared. But you can see that the coefficient of x squared and the coefficient of y squared is just 1. So that means we can continue our completing the square. But for instance, if there was 2 here and there was 2 here, we are going to divide both sides by 2 so that all of these guys will go away from the coefficient of x squared. But now we can easily go with this equation because the coefficient of x squared is just 1. So let us continue. Now step number 2, you pick up the coefficient of x, which is minus 10, and you divide it by 2 and you square it. Okay, step number 1 is to divide both sides by the coefficient of y squared or x squared. They must be the same coefficient. And when you do that, you will be left with something like this. The step number 2, you pick the coefficient of x, which is minus 10, you divide it by 2 and you square it. So that means you have minus 5 over 2. And of course, minus 5 over 2 is the same as 5 all squared. So I'm going to add this guy to both sides of this equation. So I have x squared minus 10x plus 5 squared, then equal to minus 30 plus 5 squared. So I have completed the square for the x. Now let me complete the square for the y. Now to complete the square for the y, you pick the coefficient of y, which is 6, you divide by 2 and you square it. So this is the format to complete the square. You pick the coefficient of y, which is 6, you divide by 2 and you square. So this is gonna become 3 squared. So when you got this 3 squared, you add it to both sides of the equation. So you have now y squared plus 6y plus this guy 3 squared plus 3 squared. Now at this point, we can now proceed. We are progressing. So you can look at this other side. This is a perfect square, okay? This is a perfect square. So if I factor out this guy, I will be left with x5 and this sign will be here. So I'm left with x minus 5 all squared, okay? So if I expand this guy, I'll definitely end up with this. If you really want to know how I do this, go and look at my video on completing the square. So that is exactly how I do it. So for this one, I'll open a bracket and I'll place it to the square. This guy will be here, this one will be here, and the sign of this guy will be here. So if you expand this guy, you're going to have this expression. Then equal to minus 30 plus 25 plus 9. So this will all give me 4. So this will give me 4. So I have now x minus 5 all squared plus y. I can write this guy as minus 3 all squared. Remember, I want to put it in the form of x minus h all squared plus y minus k all squared equal to r squared. You can also rewrite this 4 as 2 squared so that it can be perfectly in alignment with this standard form of a circle. Now you can see clearly that the h is just 5 and the k is just minus 3. So we see that h is equal to 5 and k is equal to minus 3, that's this guy, and of course arrow is just equal to 2. So arrow is equal to 2. So the center of the circle, which is written as h, k, it now becomes 5, minus 3. So that is the center of the circle, and the radius of the circle is just 2. So this is the center of the circle, and this is the radius of the circle. I hope this is clear and very easy. If you find problem in this question, please put it down in the comment section. And if you're confused about this form where we factor out this expression, I have a video for that. I want you to go and look up to my video on completing the square. Alright, see you in the next tutorial and have a nice day. God bless.